Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we gotta give an update on Mayor Tiffany A. Heynard, who is the mayor of Dolton, that we talked about on this channel before for her lavish vacations to Las Vegas and her eating out at all these restaurants at a rate of $24,000.
Village officials have spent more than $24,000 at restaurants in just 1 year, including this Midlothian barbecue joint and a South Holland sub shop.
Which happens to be more money being spent on food than the median income in the place that she serves. But there are some amazing other facts related to this absolute trash person of a mayor that we gotta go over, including the fact that in just 5 years, this woman has managed to put this small township in $5+ million in debt. Now we're gonna get into this. We're gonna laugh at how asinine this actually is, but before we do, I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over on actualjusticeword.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform. Now, when I first found Tiffany Haard, heard about her story, heard about the controversies that I covered in the last video, I thought, like Christopher Columbus, the great American that I actually was, that I discovered an absolute gem, something that I'm going to make content about for a very long time. However, credit where credit is due to Nate the lawyer, the Leif Erikson to my Christopher Columbus, because he had actually put out a piece on some of the stuff that was covered in my video a month before. The man deserves credit. He's an absolute machine. Go subscribe to his channel, and he also has some amazing clips that I'm going to appropriate from him and use in this video in order to buttress my point. So for those of you who aren't aware, Tiffany Haard was elected the mayor of Dolton, a small township in Illinois. She also holds another position, and because she holds both these positions simultaneously, she makes nearly $300,000 a year, something that she, like a sociopath, will lie about, deny to your face, despite the fact that her public records are available for everybody to see.
You make almost $300,000 between your two elected positions.
I do not. I don't know where you got that number from.
We got it from her own village and township records.
Now, to say that Tiffany Haard lacks decorum, to say that she doesn't present herself well, to say that she's been trashy would all be understatements. The best way to describe Tiffany Haard is that if I were to show you these clips of her in real life, of her actual meetings, of the things that she's done, of the things that she said, and I told you that those clips were an SNL skit, every single one of those SNL skit writers, because she is a black woman mayor, would be put up against the wall and executed for how much they deserve to be canceled for daring to present a black woman in this way. Because she consistently delivers the most cartoonishly over the top and ridiculous performances in every possible regard.
How y'all doing? Ain't no stopping us now.
Now, in my previous video, I showed you the clip of when she beat the recall campaign and she brought in a DJ and started playing music and started singing "There Was No Stopping Her Now" or "Ain't No Stopping Us Now." I'm not aware of the song in particular, and how that was done, and it was absurd in every possible way, especially when you consider that she actually lost the recall vote and only won on a technicality because she got a judge to declare the recall campaign unconstitutional. So a lot of people who voted for her, who figured her running as the people mayor made her aspirational, immediately turned on her when she started incinerating their money, and then she ended up losing that recall vote but won on a technicality. But she's gloating like she's unstoppable, like she's untouchable, because she really does operate her government like a thug. And I'm sorry if that's a loaded word, but there is no better way to explain what she does. But the music thing, that wasn't the first time. She actually came dressed as a Wesley Snipes character, talking about how she needed them to give her her money. And yes, this is on video, and I'm going to play this for you right now.
Nobody knows something. Don't nobody know nothing.
Here she is starting a Dolton Village board meeting dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City, later punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me. Thank you, DJ.
Now, in my previous video on this channel, I also discussed how Tiffany Haard actually shut down a car show that happens every year in Dolton, how the car show was actually not even under her jurisdiction. It was under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department, so she had no authority to demand a permit, to demand payment from these people.
And he's not alone. Others in town are sharing similar stories of alleged retaliation for not supporting this suburban mayor.
It's a regular occurrence. She uses the police force to intimidate residents.
The Dolton Park District's director said in her case, the mayor objected to a car show on park property and shut down the event.
But to make matters worse, she not only set up cinder block barriers all around this park, she not only sent the police there and threatened to tow every single car if they decided to actually let the show go on as they were actually allowed to and entitled to and actually paid for, but she also said she wouldn't do all of this crazy stuff if they decided to move the venue to somewhere that she controlled. So she was trying to profit off of this car show. She used the power of government in order to do so. Everybody knows that she had no authority to cancel this car show, and yet she is still in office, and yet she is still untouchable. To quote her, "Ain't no stopping us now."
Ain't no stopping us now.
Now, her city hall meetings are a complete and utter display of ridiculousness and absurdity. This is them arguing for 30 minutes, and yes, the whole 30 minutes was like the clip that I'm about to show you, just about the order of topics that they're going to discuss at the meeting. So this is how they argue in the pre-meeting portion of the meeting under Tiffany A. Heynard's leadership.
You're the ones that's costing the village money.
Okay. I don't have that call. I'm calling
All right.
back.
Okay.
Well, she's taking out what her
Don't drag out the meeting.
I made a motion.
It took 30 minutes of yelling just to agree on the order of the night's agenda. Some residents say they are fed up.
Now, by the way, as bad as that looks, as trashy as that looks, that is how a city is being run, I do have to give credit to the counselors for not backing down against her, because she's trying to bill all of these things to the city using the city credit card, and they're not signing off on it. They're pushing back. They're demanding receipts, which, by the way, Tiffany A. Heynard thinks she is entitled to submit charges to the city council and not provide any receipts for those charges.
I shouldn't have to sit up here and break all this down.
When trustees refused to pay a big block of bills this week, the mayor accused them of putting vital city services in jeopardy.
We need receipts to understand what's going on.
Which is just asinine, because even me running my own sole proprietorship, I have to present all the receipts to the IRS if I want credit on my taxes. But her, a public official, declares that she has God-tier rights over your money. She can spend it on lavish Vegas vacations, including round-trip first-class tickets for around $4,000 just for the ticket.
WGN Investigates obtained copies of that agency's credit card statements as well. They show township taxpayers also spent money on the Vegas trip, on everything from steak dinners to hotels, and $3,741 just on Henyard's round-trip flight.
Not to mention the suites that she's staying in, without any explanation of what she was doing for the city. This is the way that this woman operates. However, when you mess with a gangster, there are consequences. When you push back against her in public, and she is a vindictive person, as we saw with the auto show thing, she is going to strike back and have revenge. One of the things that Heynard is known for doing is just having her political opponents locked out of the legislative session or locked out of their office if they questioned her, and it's happened multiple times.
Since taking office in 2021, Henyard has repeatedly clashed with residents and fellow elected officials, even locking trustees out of Village Hall amid a dispute.
And it's not just limited to the city council. When an accountant, somebody who is supposed to be monitoring the spending, the check on Tiffany Haard abusing the credit card, started questioning her about this, despite the fact that she had been in that position for years and operated well in that position, Heynard also locked her out. But that's not even the craziest of the craziest. In my last video, I actually alluded to the fact that she spends a ton of money on her own security, but I did not give you the appropriate context for that amount of money that she's spending, and the appropriate context for the $5 million in debt, especially when you're hearing about the federal government in trillions of dollars in debt, and all these big cities that are billions of dollars behind and have to make cuts because of the migrant crisis or whatever reason. But so you understand, Dolton is actually a township of about 20,000 people, and as I said, the median income in that particular area is $24,000, so even their government officials, one of the reasons why Tiffany Haard is allowed to serve in two positions, are not full-time government officials. In fact, Heynard herself is a part-time mayor, because the mayor position in Dolton is a part-time position. However, she is spending more money on security, her own personal detail, than most full-time mayors, than most full-time people in equivalent positions, and this is pulling precious officers away from what they need to do in this township. And the reason why officers are choosing to go in that direction is that if you were getting paid this much overtime pay, you would do the same. It's unbelievable what she's shelling out for her own detail. And of course, she can't be bothered with private security. She's a BLM mayor. She's going to take the cops off the streets, pay them a ton of money so that they're not enforcing the law. They're just protecting her. Get a load of this corruption and how she's able to get the police on her side for corrupt actions like shutting down the auto show.
Can the Dolton Police Department afford to have this many officers attached to her detail?
We can. We really need them patrolling the streets.
So she's the part-time mayor of a South suburban village of a little more than 20,000 people.
Yet residents of Dolton are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to provide security for their self-proclaimed super mayor.
Yeah, that's right. At a cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars to protect a part-time position, this woman is using the police department in order to protect her. But the thing is, it gets even worse when you look in the details because the devil is always in the details, and Heynard is ripping you off in more ways than you could possibly imagine if you're in the city of Dolton. But it's okay. She calls herself a super mayor, the people's mayor, your champion. She's spending all of your money to put billboards and flyers.
And it's hard to turn anywhere in Dolton without seeing Henyard's picture.
With her image on it, her headshot, like she's auditioning for some bigger role, like she's trying to become famous. So she definitely needs to be protected. Trust me, bro, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
Or online, where she recently commemorated 9/11 with her own photo. I'll ask you a few questions. Okay. But when we asked Henyard a few months ago about her use of tax dollars, she was quickly hustled out of the room by armed security.
I mean, look at that. 9/11, and she took out the 11 and replaced it with her. That is a thing that actually happened in the United States of America. And an actual politician, again, this is not an SNL skit that would get everybody not just canceled who wrote it about a black woman, but executed by the woke mob if they wrote it about a black woman. This is real life. These are things that actually occurred.
And on Facebook, in videos posted by Henyard herself, we see her being driven around and surrounded by Dolton officers.
So first and foremost, I just want to point out that Tiffany A. Haard not only declares herself more important than 9/11 in the United States of America, but she travels around with a motorcade. Now, I already told you that this costs hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and one needs to ask what level of threats is this woman actually facing that she would need all of this security, all of this money protecting her 24/7. But again, the big number amount and the cars and the SUVs don't tell the whole tale. We will get into it. Trust me, it's more absurd than you could imagine. It's gonna get crazy.
Which got us to wondering, why all the cops?
We weren't opposed to her having the security detail. We asked how long and how often.
Dolton trustee Brittany Norwood says Henyard began assembling her detail shortly after being elected in 2021, using hand-picked Dolton police officers. Using a Freedom of Information request, we obtained the work records for 6 of the officers assigned to Henyard's security detail at various times.
If you're a member of the Board of Supervisors, if you're supposed to be the legislative arm that is overseeing the mayor, you should not need the media to present to you what is being spent on this. But as told to us in the segment, they've actually repeatedly asked Heynard for these records. She's just never turned them over.
And showed them to some of Dolton's trustees. This is a Freedom of Information request we did to see how much overtime these officers are making on her security detail.
Oh, wow. 162 hours.
162. Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, 162 hours, little bit crazy in terms of overtime. That seems a little bit insane, a little bit asinine. But as this local news person said, that's nothing. That must be the most hated person on Heynard's detail, because when you see how many hours of overtime these people are working, it's going to blow your mind. And if you're an officer, you might actually want to move to this corrupt area and get on this detail, because you're never going to make more in your entire life as an officer in terms of overtime than you will working for Heynard.
What goes through your mind when you see these numbers?
It's disappointing. It's frustrating.
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
So when most people think of corruption, they think about foreign influence maybe at the federal level, big corporations or big unions donating to your senators, to the president, to members of Congress. Maybe they're buying vacations for judges and all this crazy elaborate stuff that you think about top of mind. But truth be told, that's not where it actually is. And by the way, it's not actually in the big cities, even though corruption definitely exists at the federal level and at the governor's level and at the big city level. But these local governments are the most corrupt thing you can possibly imagine. They control huge portions of your resources that you don't even realize. They distribute and manage the education budget, which is the highest budget item in every single state in this union. And there's virtually no oversight because people don't pay attention to local elections. People always focus nationally rather than locally, so a small corrupt force can have way more influence than you can on a national level where there is some degree of national scrutiny. She has consistently, since she took office, which I think was something like 2 years ago, been having her officers work over 100+ hours in 2-week periods every single 2 weeks. They have been making money hand over fist in a small township of 20,000 people, racking up hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it only took an interested local media party to actually uncover this because it wasn't being revealed to the public. She had a guy so emboldened, she already has so many people working 250+ hours over these 2 weeks, actually put in and get paid $13,000 for 303 hours worked in a work period that only covers 326 hours of potential work.
How? How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
336
Does he
hours.
never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period.
Just think about that. Think about how absurd that is. Think about how in-your-face corrupt that is. Think about how this information is available just with the cost of a Freedom of Information Act request, which, by the way, is minuscule for records like this. It's absurd, it's insane, but it's allowed to go on, and if you question it, you're the problem. These people try to intimidate you. They try to threaten you because these are armed officers that can make your life difficult if you question their gravy train. Look at those timesheets. 150 hours, always over 100 hours in terms of guarding this mayor, who again isn't supposed to be a full-time position herself, so why the police department is guarding her more than double a full-time pay period is crazy.
Mayor, mind if I ask you a couple of questions about your security detail?
Absolutely not.
I'm asking her.
Yeah, she said no.
A couple weeks ago, we tried to question Henyard about her detail as she went door to door in Dolton giving out water on a 100-degree day, surrounded by police, firefighters, public works employees, and 2 videographers documenting for Dolton's Facebook page.
I want to tell the people I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I hope they post what we actually do here in the village of Dolton and stop telling lies.
This woman is giving out water, cases of water that you can get at Costco or any wholesale market for probably $5, $6, maybe $7 or $8, depending on how bad it is or if there's no sale at the time that you're purchasing this. She's going door to door with 2 camera crews so that they could film it for her Facebook and about 8 people protecting her. That is the money that she's being spent. She's like, here's $8, you idiot taxpayer. This is me hooking you up on a 100-degree day, while she's spending thousands upon thousands of dollars of their money in order to do so. This is the ultimate robbery. She's trying to get the camera crew to focus on what she's doing, look at what's in front of the camera, but all this stuff around it is really indicative of what's actually going on in Dolton. Tiffany Haard, you might actually be the most corrupt mayor in the entire country at this moment. It's insane that you're getting away with it. Where's the FBI on this? It seems like if you don't say anything negative about Biden, you'll be totally fine. They should be raiding her immediately and honestly arresting and indicting these officers for defrauding the taxpayers in the way that they are. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Tiffany A. Haard spending millions of dollars on herself. Till next time.